They left her to die in the desert, but a rancher changed her fate. The sun was already high in the sky when she opened her eyes and realized something was wrong. The air felt heavy and hot. There was no sound around her except the soft movement of wind across the sand. For a few seconds she did not understand where she was. Then the truth slowly became clear. She was in the desert. Alone, no car, no phone, no water, no people. Her heart started beating very fast. She tried to sit up, but her body felt weak. The ground under her was hot and rough. She looked around in every direction. All she could see was sand. It stretched far away like it had no end. There were no trees, no houses, and no signs of life. The sky was bright and clear, but the sunlight was painful to her eyes. She remembered the last few hours before this moment. She had trusted someone she thought cared about her. She believed she was going somewhere safe, but instead of safety, she was brought to this empty place. At first, she thought it was a mistake. Maybe they would return soon. Maybe they had only stepped away for a short time. She waited. She listened for sounds of a car engine. She watched the horizon carefully. Nothing happened. As time passed, fear began to grow inside her. The desert felt bigger with every minute. The silence was not peaceful. It felt heavy and uncomfortable. The heat was strong and the sun seemed to move slowly across the sky. She realized that no one was coming back for her. The truth was painful, but she had to accept it. She checked her pockets. There was nothing useful inside. She looked at her surroundings again, hoping to find something that could help her survive. The sand looked the same in every direction. Without clear landmarks, it was easy to feel lost. She tried to remember the way she had come, but everything looked similar. The desert had no clear paths. Her throat felt dry. She swallowed, but it did not help. She had not realized how quickly the body needs water. The heat was starting to affect her thinking. Her head felt light and her vision was not fully clear. She knew she had to stay calm. Panic would only make things worse. She took slow breaths and tried to think clearly. She stood up carefully. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to move. Sitting still in the heat could be dangerous. She looked for shade, but there was none nearby. The sun was directly above her, making the sand even hotter. Every step she took felt tiring. The sand shifted under her feet, making walking difficult. She began to walk in one direction, hoping it might lead to help. She did not know which way was correct, but staying in one place did not feel safe either. As she walked, she tried to stay positive. She told herself that someone might pass by, maybe a driver on a distant road, maybe a person checking their land. She held on to this small hope. After some time, her body started to feel weaker. The heat made her tired very quickly. She slowed down but continued moving. She knew that if she stopped completely, it might become harder to start again. Each step required effort. The desert seemed to go on forever. Her thoughts became deeper and more serious. She thought about her family. She imagined their faces. She wondered what they would think if they knew where she was. She felt regret for trusting the wrong people. She felt sadness, but she also felt determination. She did not want this moment to be the end of her story. The wind began to blow gently, lifting small clouds of sand into the air. It stung her skin slightly, but she did not stop. She covered her face with her hand to protect her eyes. The environment was harsh, but she reminded herself that she was still alive. As long as she was breathing, there was a chance. Her steps became slower. She could feel exhaustion spreading through her body. Her strength was fading, and she knew she needed water soon. Without it, survival would become much harder. She looked at the ground, hoping to find anything that could help, but there was only dry sand. The sky slowly changed as the day continued. The brightness remained strong. There was no cloud to block the sun. The silence around her made her feel even smaller in the wide open space. It was as if the desert had no end and no limits. That feeling was frightening. Even with fear in her heart, she refused to sit down and give up. She believed that giving up would mean accepting defeat. She was not ready for that. She had dreams. She had plans. She wanted a future. These thoughts gave her small strength to continue. As she walked, she began to feel dizzy. The heat was becoming harder to handle. She paused for a moment and closed her eyes. She took slow breaths and tried to calm her body. She told herself to think step by step, not about the whole desert, not about the future, only about the next small movement. She started walking again, but now her pace was slower. The sand felt deeper in some areas, making it harder to move forward. Her shoes were full of sand. Her clothes felt warm and heavy. Still, she continued. Her survival depended on her will. In the distance, everything looked the same. No road was visible. No building could be seen. It was just open land. The desert was beautiful in a quiet way, but in this moment it felt like a challenge she had to face alone. Her body was getting more tired. She understood that she needed help soon. She began to think about what she would do if she saw someone. She would wave her arms. She would shout if she had the energy. The idea of rescue gave her hope. Even though fear was present, hope was stronger. She believed that life could change in a single moment. She did not know how or when, but she trusted that something good could still happen. With that belief, she continued moving forward. The desert remained silent, but her determination did not disappear. She was alone, but she was not ready to surrender. Every small step was proof of her strength, and somewhere far away, without her knowing it, help was closer than she thought. The desert sun continued to shine brightly as she kept walking. Every step felt harder than the one before. Her body was already tired, and now the heat was making everything worse. She tried to stay focused, but her thoughts were becoming slower. The silence around her felt heavy. There was no sound of traffic, no voices, and no sign of help. She tried to remember how long she had been walking. Time felt strange in the desert. It was difficult to know whether minutes or hours had passed. The sun did not seem to move quickly, yet her strength was disappearing fast. She knew that staying calm was important. Panic would only waste energy, so she forced herself to think clearly. Her throat was very dry. Each breath felt hot. She realized how serious the situation was becoming. The human body needs water to survive, and without it, weakness grows quickly. She tried to slow her breathing to save energy. She also tried not to think about how thirsty she felt, because thinking about it made the feeling stronger. She looked around again, hoping to see something new, but the view had not changed. Sand stretched in every direction. The ground was uneven in some places, and that made walking even more difficult. She adjusted her steps carefully to avoid falling. Falling would mean losing more energy, and she could not afford that. Her mind started to feel slightly confused. The heat was affecting her focus. She stopped walking for a moment and stood still. She closed her eyes briefly and tried to rest without sitting down. She knew that if she lay on the hot sand, it could make her condition worse. Standing felt safer, even if it was hard. She thought about the mistake that led her here. She felt pain in her heart, not just in her body. Trusting the wrong people had brought her to this place. She felt disappointment, but she also felt a strong desire to survive. She reminded herself that this moment did not define her life. It was only one part of her journey. Slowly, she began walking again. She chose a direction and decided to continue straight ahead. Even if she was not sure it was the right path, staying in motion gave her hope. Movement meant she was still trying. She believed that as long as she kept going, there was a chance to find something or someone. The wind started blowing again. It was not strong, but it carried small pieces of sand. The sand touched her skin and made it uncomfortable. She covered her face with her hand to protect her eyes. Her clothes were already warm from the heat, and the wind did not bring any cool air. Still, she continued. As the sun moved slightly, the shadows changed shape. She noticed this and tried to use it as a small guide. She had heard that in open land, shadows can help show direction. She carefully observed the position of the sun and adjusted her walking path. It was not easy, but she wanted to improve her chances. Her steps became shorter. She did not want to waste energy by taking large steps. She focused on steady movement. Each step was a small victory. Even though her body felt weak, her determination remained strong. She refused to sit down and accept defeat. After some time, she felt her energy dropping again. Her head felt light and her legs were shaking slightly. She knew she needed rest, but she also knew that resting in the open sun could be risky. So she searched for even the smallest sign of shade. Unfortunately, the land was wide and empty. She began to talk to herself quietly. She said encouraging words to stay positive. She reminded herself of her strength. She remembered past challenges she had faced and overcome. Those memories gave her courage. She believed that if she survived other difficult moments, she could survive this one too. The heat was still strong and her body was becoming more tired. She slowed down even more. At one point, she felt like stopping completely. Her mind told her to sit down. But another part of her mind told her to continue. She listened to the stronger voice inside her that wanted to live. She took a deep breath and looked toward the horizon. The line between the sand and the sky seemed endless. It was hard not to feel small in such a large space. But instead of feeling hopeless, she tried to feel determined. The desert was big, but her will was also strong. As she walked, she began to notice that her steps were not as steady as before. She carefully adjusted her balance. She did not want to fall. Falling could cause injury, and she needed all her strength. She moved slowly, paying attention to every step. Her thoughts became more focused on rescue. She imagined someone driving nearby. She imagined hearing a vehicle in the distance. She kept listening carefully, even though the desert was quiet. Every small sound made her heart beat faster, but it was only the wind. Despite everything, she did not cry. She saved her energy. She knew that staying mentally strong was important. Tears would not help her survive. Action was more important than fear, so she continued to walk. The sun was still high and the temperature remained intense. Her body was now showing clear signs of exhaustion. She realized that she might not be able to continue for much longer without help. This thought frightened her, but she tried not to let it control her. Instead, she focused on small goals. She decided to walk for a few more minutes. Then she would decide what to do next. Breaking the situation into small parts made it easier to handle. She did not think about the entire day. She only thought about the next step. Her strength was slowly decreasing, but her hope remained alive. She believed that someone might notice her tracks in the sand. She hoped that her path might lead to a road or a farm. She did not know what lay ahead, but she was willing to find out. The desert still looked the same in every direction, but her mindset had changed. She was no longer only afraid. She was focused. She understood that survival required patience and determination. She accepted that the situation was serious, but she did not accept defeat. Even though her body was weak, her spirit continued to push her forward. She kept moving under the hot sun, step by step, holding on to hope. She did not know that her fate was about to change. Far away from her sight, something unexpected was approaching that would transform her story completely. The desert was still quiet when she continued walking, but her strength was now very low. Each step felt heavier than before. Her legs were tired, and her body felt weak because of the heat and lack of water. Still, she did not stop. She kept moving slowly, hoping that something would change soon. She did not know that help was closer than she imagined. Far away from the main road, a local rancher was checking his land. It was part of his daily routine. He cared about his animals and the wide area of open land around his property. That day, he decided to ride across a section of the desert to inspect the fences and look for any problems. He was used to the hot weather, but he always stayed careful and alert. As he moved across the land, he noticed something unusual in the distance. At first, it looked like a small shape on the sand. In the desert, shadows and objects can sometimes look confusing because of the heat. He stopped for a moment and looked again. The shape did not move like the wind. That made him curious. He decided to ride closer to get a better view. As he approached, he began to realize that it was not an object. It was a person lying or sitting on the ground. His heart started beating faster. He understood that this situation could be serious. Without wasting time, he moved quickly in that direction. When he reached nearer, he saw that it was a young woman. She looked exhausted and weak. Her clothes were dusty, and she seemed to be struggling with the heat. The rancher immediately felt concern. He had lived near the desert for many years, and he knew how dangerous the heat could be without water and shade. He carefully approached her to avoid frightening her. He spoke in a calm voice so she would not feel more stress. At first, she was too weak to respond clearly. Her eyes opened slowly, and she tried to understand what was happening. The rancher realized she needed help right away. He quickly removed a container of water from his vehicle. He did not give her too much at once, but he offered small sips to help her body slowly recover. He knew that giving water carefully was important in such situations. He also moved her to a slightly shaded area to protect her from direct sunlight. The rancher checked her condition gently. He asked simple questions to see if she could speak. She was tired, but she managed to nod and give short answers. It became clear that she had been alone in the desert for some time. The rancher understood that time was very important. Without delay, he used his communication device to call for emergency assistance. He explained the location as clearly as possible. He stayed calm so that the message would be understood properly. While waiting for help, he remained near her to make sure she was safe. He noticed that she was still very weak. He encouraged her to stay awake and keep breathing slowly. He spoke kindly to her, reminding her that help was coming soon. His calm presence helped reduce her fear. Even though she was still tired, she felt slightly safer knowing someone was there. The rancher also checked the surrounding area to ensure there were no other dangers. The desert can sometimes have unexpected challenges, so he made sure the environment was secure. After confirming that everything was stable, he returned to sit near her. As they waited, he continued to give her small amounts of water at proper intervals. He did not want to rush anything. He knew that recovery needed patience. The sun was still high, but he tried to position his vehicle to create more shade. This small action made a difference in protecting her from direct heat. She slowly began to regain a little strength. Her breathing became more steady. She was still weak, but she was no longer alone. The presence of the rancher gave her comfort. Even though they were strangers, his kindness made her feel hopeful again. After some time, the sound of an emergency vehicle could be heard in the distance. The rancher signaled to guide them to the correct location. When the team arrived, they quickly assessed her condition. They appreciated the rancher's quick action and careful support. The medical team began providing proper care. They checked her vital signs and prepared to transport her to a medical facility for further treatment. The rancher explained what he had seen and how he found her. His detailed information helped the team understand the situation clearly. Before leaving, the woman looked at the rancher with gratitude. Even though she was still tired, she understood that his actions had changed everything. Without his discovery, the outcome might have been very different. The rancher simply nodded and said that anyone would have done the same. As the vehicle prepared to leave, the rancher stood quietly and watched. He felt relieved that help had arrived in time. He did not see himself as special, but his quick decision had made a huge impact. His awareness and responsibility toward his land had led him to her at the right moment. The desert, which once felt empty and silent, now had a story of hope in it. The woman was no longer alone in that wide land. The rancher's kindness had connected two lives in an unexpected way. What began as a dangerous and lonely situation had started to change because of one person's attention and compassion. The sun continued to shine, but now the atmosphere felt different. There was a sense of relief instead of fear. The rancher returned to his routine later, but the memory of that day stayed with him. For the woman, this moment marked the beginning of recovery and a new chance at life. After the emergency team arrived, everything started moving quickly and carefully. The young woman was gently placed inside the medical vehicle. The environment inside was cooler and safer than the hot desert outside. The medical team continued checking her condition while traveling toward the nearest medical center. They spoke in calm voices to keep her relaxed. Even though she was still weak, she felt a small sense of relief knowing that she was no longer alone in the desert. At the medical center, doctors and nurses immediately began treatment. They understood that she had suffered from severe heat and lack of water. First, they worked to stabilize her body. They provided fluids slowly and carefully to help her recover safely. They also checked her heart rate, breathing, and overall condition. Every step was done with attention and care. She was placed in a quiet room where she could rest. The lights were soft and the environment was calm. After spending so much time in the open desert, this peaceful room felt very different. Her body was still weak, but she could feel that she was in safe hands. The medical team explained to her that recovery would take time, but she was in the right place. During the first few hours, she mostly rested. Her body needed time to adjust. The doctors monitored her closely to make sure her condition improved steadily. Slowly, her strength began to return. She was able to speak more clearly and answer questions. She told them what she remembered about the desert and how she ended up there. Sharing her story was emotional, but it helped the team understand what she had experienced. Meanwhile, the rancher who had found her was also informed that she was stable. He felt relieved. After helping the emergency team, he returned to his land, but he could not stop thinking about the situation. He knew he had simply been doing his usual work, yet that simple action had changed someone's life. He felt thankful that he had noticed her in time. Back at the medical center, the woman continued to recover. Each day, she felt a little stronger. The fluids helped her body regain balance. She started eating small meals as recommended by the doctors. Her energy slowly returned. The medical staff encouraged her and reminded her that progress takes time. She listened carefully and followed their advice. As her condition improved, she also began to feel emotional recovery. The experience in the desert had been frightening. She sometimes had moments where she remembered the heat and silence, but the supportive environment helped her feel safe again. Nurses spoke kindly to her and reassured her whenever she felt worried. This support made a big difference in her healing process. After a few days, she was able to sit up on her own. That was an important step in her recovery. She felt proud of her progress. The doctors were satisfied with her improvement, but they continued monitoring her to ensure everything remained stable. They explained that full recovery would still require patience. During her stay, she thought about the rancher often. She wanted to thank him personally. The hospital staff arranged a meeting when she was strong enough. When the rancher visited, she felt emotional. She expressed her gratitude sincerely. She told him that his quick action saved her life. He responded humbly, saying that he was simply in the right place at the right time. Their meeting was simple but meaningful. There was no need for many words. Both understood the importance of that day in the desert. The rancher's awareness and kindness had made the difference between danger and safety. The woman felt deep respect for him. As days passed, her recovery continued. She regained her strength step by step. The medical team confirmed that she could soon leave the facility. Before her discharge, they gave her guidance about staying safe in hot environments and the importance of carrying water and staying aware of surroundings. She listened carefully and appreciated their advice. When she finally left the medical center, she felt grateful for a second chance. The world outside seemed brighter than before. The experience had changed her perspective. She understood the value of life, safety, and kindness. She realized how quickly situations can change and how important it is to be careful and trust wisely. She decided that she would share her story in a responsible way to help others learn from it, not to create fear, but to spread awareness. She wanted people to understand how important preparation and awareness are, especially in extreme environments. Her story became a message of survival and hope. The rancher also continued his routine work, but he felt that day had left a lasting impression on him. He realized how important it is to stay alert in open land areas. His experience reminded him that even ordinary days can become meaningful in unexpected ways. He remained humble and did not seek attention. For him, helping someone in need was simply the right thing to do. Over time, the woman rebuilt her daily life. She focused on recovery and emotional strength. She spent time with supportive people and slowly returned to her normal activities. The desert experience became a memory, but it also became a lesson. She learned about resilience, patience, and gratitude. The event connected two strangers in a powerful way. One act of attention and kindness created a new future for someone else. The rancher's decision to stop and look carefully at the desert landscape changed everything. It showed that awareness can save lives. The woman often thought about how close she had been to a tragic outcome. But instead of focusing on fear, she chose to focus on gratitude. She believed that every life has value and that help can come when least expected. Her journey from danger to recovery became a symbol of hope. By the end of her recovery, she felt stronger not only physically, but also emotionally. She had faced one of the most difficult moments of her life and survived. The experience taught her to appreciate small things, like clean water, safe shelter, and caring people. The desert no longer represented fear in her heart. Instead, it represented survival and transformation. What began as a desperate situation ended with compassion and care. And through it all, one rancher's simple decision to act made all the difference. Her story continued beyond that day, but the fourth chapter of her journey showed something very important. Even in the harshest conditions, kindness and quick thinking can bring life back from the edge. After she fully recovered, her life slowly began to feel normal again. The days in the medical center became part of her past, and she was finally able to return to her home. Even though her body had healed, her mind still remembered the desert. Sometimes, when the weather was very hot, she would feel a small reminder of that difficult day. But instead of fear, she now felt strength. When she arrived home, her family welcomed her with tears of joy. They had been very worried during her absence. Hearing her story made them feel emotional but also thankful. They listened carefully as she explained everything. She told them about the desert, the long hours alone, and how she kept walking to survive. She also told them about the rancher who found her. Her family was deeply grateful for his kindness. In the following days, she spent time resting and rebuilding her energy. She understood that recovery is not only about the body but also about the heart. She spoke with close friends about her experience. She did not share the story to create fear. Instead, she wanted people to learn from it. She explained how important it is to trust wisely, stay aware of surroundings, and always carry enough water in hot areas. Her story slowly began to spread in her community. People were inspired by her survival and by the rancher's quick action. Many people talked about how one small decision can change a life. The rancher did not see himself as special. He believed he only did what anyone should do in such a situation, but others saw his action as brave and caring. The woman later decided to meet the rancher again, this time not in the hospital but in a peaceful setting. She wanted to thank him properly. When they met, she brought a small gift as a sign of appreciation. The rancher smiled and said that seeing her safe was more than enough thanks. Their meeting was simple but meaningful. It showed how kindness connects people, even if they are strangers. After that day, she felt a new purpose in life. She wanted to help others understand safety and awareness. She began sharing her experience in small gatherings and community meetings. She spoke about preparation, responsibility, and the importance of staying calm during difficult situations. Her words were honest and based on real experience, which made people listen carefully. She also became more confident. The desert had tested her strength, but it had also shown her inner courage. She realized that she was stronger than she had thought. Surviving that day changed her view of challenges. When she faced small problems in daily life, she remembered how she survived the desert. That memory gave her confidence. The rancher, on the other hand, continued his daily work on his land. He remained alert whenever he was outside. That day in the desert reminded him that being observant can make a big difference. He also shared the experience with others in his area, encouraging them to stay aware and check their surroundings carefully. He believed in helping the community in simple ways. Over time, the woman and the rancher stayed in touch as friends. Their connection was built on respect and gratitude. They did not meet often, but whenever they did, they shared updates about their lives. Their story became an example of how strangers can become connected through one life-changing moment. The woman also decided to improve her knowledge about safety in extreme weather. She learned about how to prepare for travel, especially in hot climates. She made sure to carry water, inform someone about her location, and stay aware of her surroundings. She wanted to prevent any similar situation in the future. Her experience taught her valuable lessons that she would never forget. As years passed, she felt stronger and more independent. The memory of the desert no longer made her afraid. Instead, it reminded her of survival, hope, and kindness. She understood that even in the most difficult places, help can arrive unexpectedly. She believed that life has moments where everything can change in a short time. Her story also inspired many people outside her community. When others heard about it, they felt encouraged to stay hopeful during challenges. It showed that no matter how dark a situation seems, there can still be a positive outcome. The rancher's action proved that awareness and compassion are powerful. Looking back, she realized how close she had come to losing hope. But she also realized that one caring person changed everything. The desert, which once felt endless and empty, became a symbol of survival. It was no longer only a place of fear. It became a place that reminded her of strength and second chances. The rancher continued his simple life, never seeking attention. He believed that helping others is part of being responsible. His quiet action remained a powerful example in the community. People respected him for his humility and quick thinking. The woman lived her life with more gratitude than before. She valued small things like clean water, safe shelter, and supportive people. Every morning felt like a gift to her. She knew that not everyone gets a second chance, and she did not take hers for granted. In the end, their story was not just about survival. It was about awareness, kindness, and hope. It showed that one decision made at the right moment can change everything. The desert journey began with danger, but it ended with safety and gratitude. And through it all, a rancher's simple act of compassion transformed a life forever. Her experience became a lasting reminder that even in the most difficult situations, hope can survive, and help can appear when it is needed most.